Greetings. I am here. I am here. It's been one of those days. I'm trying to get my house ready and my guest house ready for guests that we're picking up tomorrow morning from the airport. I'm not super thrilled about having guests so soon after having been hospitalized because that meant I had to get up and do things I didn't really want to do. But it's done now. It's done. It's done. It's done. So I'm just going to relax today and just do laundry and watch television. So, hey, Sunny Side Up. The main reason I wanted to come on today is I got up this morning and saw that various people are throwing rocks at various other people for calling out behaviors. They're claiming this one is messy, that one's messy, whatever. I don't want to tell anybody what to do with their channel. I've thought about this long and hard. For a long time I was going on various people's channel, enough is enough, and all that. That has kind of ended for me because we're all supposed to be grown ass people. I don't know about you, but I don't need a babysitter and I don't need to babysit it or limit anyone else. I don't like limits. I don't like schedules. I don't like limits. I do art, I paint, I do all kinds of stuff. And it's without limits and it's not on a schedule. So I just want to throw that out there. I know it's not what I said I was going to talk about, but I got just rather upset with people who were just deciding what the community was and what the community needed to do and push us in these narrow confines. And I admit I was one of those channel Nazis for a while. I said, well, if you're going to be part of the community, you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. You shouldn't dox anybody. You shouldn't go real life. I shouldn't even have to say that, but I'm saying it again, just as those should be some basic human decency rules that you just don't do online. It's okay to not hate. It's okay to dislike other YouTubers. It's okay to think that they're messy. It's okay to like YouTubers nobody else likes. All of that is okay and it's strictly up to you. Let me tell you, when Roadhog went after me that time, seeing who defended me and who did not was eye-opening. I think the worst one that pissed me off was someone that I've been very close to and defended a number of times, who decided that she was going to say, oh, well, that's women, women's lib. Women should be exposed to the same stuff men are doing. I was like, So there were a lot of people that were in my life that I just quietly tiptoed away from, including there. Hey, Lisa. Happy to be. Hey, glad to see you. Welcome, welcome. I was just ranting about people trying to police channels and trying to say what needs to happen on them. Now, that is not at all what I was going to say about a certain very problematic YouTuber. I have decided that with her, the ones that are breaking the law need to go. They do. But I think that trying to police others sucks. I don't want to be the policeman for everybody else. Oh, Joe, I'm glad to see you. Ranting, my favorite pastime. That's mine too, Lisa. Sometimes, yes, I'm just ranting because we got people that are trying to police the trying to police our community again. And it's very hypocritical that they're doing this, because I've seen, well, one of them I haven't seen engage in stuff, but one of them I most definitely have. So that is my rant for today. Like I said, I don't like schedules. I don't like doing things a certain way. I just like having the freedom to do what I want when I want. And I don't want to take that away from anybody else, even the mixed wines. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the crazy things that happened in my old church. We had a lot of crazy things that were actually pretty comical that happened. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I wrote for 10 years for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering. I'm going to mention a lot of people today, so let's not dox any of them. Let's not harass them. Let's not do any of that stuff. If you want to hit the like button and do all the YouTubey things, that would be wonderful. So, these crazy things that happen. Some of these stories I've told you guys before, but not in real detail. And I've been writing my book lately about my time at my old Quiverful church. Uh, at least I try to be peaceful. But I get up some mornings like today, and I feel like taking some heads and knocking them together and say, knock it off. Knock it off, knock it off. Hey, Carolyn. So, one of the ones I haven't told was the amazing Spider-Man pastor. One of the things that I used to do at the old church that I was drafted to do because I was artistic was to fix up the sanctuary every Christmas, every Easter, every holiday. I was on a ladder doing X, Y, and Z, putting stuff here and there, and I loved it. One Christmas, we were up there rooting around in the attic of the church, trying to get out the Christmas ornaments, and the pastor, for some reason, decided to insert himself in it. And when he did that, he made it very awful for us because he was poking around, not knowing what each thing was, and we had everything labeled, and it was just pretty crazy. But the crazy didn't even start to happen. Hey, Prairie, until Mr. I'm Not Practical stepped off one of the supports and right on the area between the supports. He stepped on it and down he went. He fell from the attic in the church down into the sanctuary. And I hate to say it, we all laughed. It was pretty crazy. He wasn't injured, thank goodness. The only injury was to his pride. And sometimes I think pastors being taken down a peg or two is not necessarily always a bad thing. Most of the comedy that happened was crazy things that you would not believe, like one of the elders seemed like he was channeling Foghorn Leghorn in the way he talked. Every time he talked crazy, he would be running his mouth. I say there, boy. But he tried to pretend he was like Jeb Stuart or Robert E. Lee of the Confederacy, that he was this awesome guy. He walked around wearing coats cut pretty much like they used to wear in the Civil War. He was pretty strange. Yeah, he wasn't hurt. He just fell down, and it was just kind of funny. Um, we all laughed because he got caught on the wires and he was hanging. So as the pastor, Spider-Man pastor, was hanging. So we kind of laughed at that. But back to this crazy guy. This guy once tossed me out for laughing. My daughter and I were there one time, and we both started laughing. We got holy laughter in the middle of the service, and he threw me out. He's tried to have a gravitas, but he just came across as silly. I think the funniest thing I saw him do was when he went to leave. He, his wife's son, the wife's son's wife, and kids, they all decided they were going to leave. And that was like 15, 16 people. So it was a pretty major blow for a church only has 300. So they called him up front because he'd been an elder since dust was invented. He'd been an elder of that church so long. They had given him, they made a bunch of pretty flowery speeches, and then they handed him gifts. They gave him a gift card of like $500 to one of the hotel chains. They gave him a fruit basket, no lie, that was like that. It was like a couple $100 fruit basket with everything you could think of. They gave him some other gifts too. But I had to laugh because they handed all this stuff over to him. They gave these pretty flowery speeches, and everybody was content to wave goodbye to Jeb Leghorn, is what I call him. Everybody was waving goodbye, and the pastor said, "Oh, and by the way, I am leaving." Well, the second the pastor announced his leaving, Jeb Leghorn grabbed the microphone away from the pastor and said, "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving." And not only did he not leave, he had the cojones not to give the fruit basket back. or any of it. He walked out and toddled out with his prizes, and I'm looking like, what? He was going to throw you out. You should have made him literally throw you out. Prairie, that wouldn't have gone well because I was as tall as him and definitely wider. I probably could have squashed him if I wanted, but no. So he was rather strange. Our church was in the countryside outside of a DC suburban community, outside the countryside, maybe about 20 miles out. Hey, that Amber chick. And so we drew all kinds. You had your rural recondites, you had your people who were working on Capitol Hill. So you had a whole variety of people going to church there, and they were all kind of a little on the intense side, most of them. And he was very, I'm not taking any nonsense. So, Virginia is strange. You're right. And where I was living at that time was the edge of where anybody who worked in the city would live, the very edge. Yet another reason not to work formally. The clicks are too hard to cope with. Lisa, you were exactly right. And he was trying to pretend he was as good as Jeb Stewart, and he came off like Foghorn Leghorn, which is how I came up with his name. The funniest thing about him was you would think, well, he's a historian. He plays all these instruments. He must work as a musician. He must work as a historian because he knew about the Civil War and he made all these claims about the piece of property our church was on. You know what he did for a living? He collected auto payments from people in West Virginia who did not have bank accounts. He would show up at their house, they would pay him cash. He worked for a finance company. It was kind of funny. So I'm breaking up again. So it was kind of funny that he had so much. Both of you are. Let me see if I can go out and come back in because sometimes that helps. Hang on. What I'll have to do is I'll have to end this stream and make a new stream for that to straighten out. Sounds better now? Good, good, good. I was just saying that he took himself way more seriously than any of us took him or anyone else. One of the saddest but funniest thing that happened was when we had a youth lock-in and we ended up doing a exorcism on a kid that was merely stoned. It was pretty crazy because I knew right away he was stoned. It was a visiting kid, friends of these kids I called Huey, Dewey, and Louie, triplets. So the triplets had brought Robert, I'm going to call him, to church. And the weed fumes. Uh-oh, sound breakup. Okay, I better try again. Let me reboot the router and I'll come back in, okay? On a different stream, though. I'm going to warn you now. In stream. Okay.